Good morning. Just doing a little bit of a Bitcoin and market update. Yeah, big things. Obviously, we had the nice big Bart Simpson pattern break back to the downside. So, in general, really nice flush out of that high leverage long liquidity. We're clearing levels and losing it back towards the yearly open as we dump through the December as well. So, first off, looking at long shorts. Aggressive step back in. Obviously, this happened early afternoon. We were talking about it yesterday. The bigger long stepping in locally. We had some localized breakdown and caught a large part of that downside move as we kept breaking and losing levels. Longs are now very much in control at about 61%. Even on the low time frames, they're still stepping in. So we would want any type of reversal to be met with aggressive shorting from retail. Like obviously, if these guys are long, then the market's probably still going lower. So for the time being, we've got some downside priority. We've broken some levels, but the higher time frame is still holding as long as we can hold the demand and support below us. Looking at some of the liquidations here, one of the big things that I want to look at is specifically down here at the lows. I don't want to really start creating new lows under 91.5. That's kind of, the low we've done it. We've got some good support and a relatively liquidity dead zone down here around 93.3 where we have the yearly open. Below this, we start talking about the big wick down to 86, which is not off the table, especially given the strong rejection of the upside move. So now this upside did a couple good things. We've actually built back a large chunk of short liquidity right above that previous high. And for us to farm out and kind of link the liquidity above us, that'll eventually lead to a new breakout up to likely 116, 120K in the next leg up. We still want to flush out those late longs. And that's what we got with yesterday's move, clearing all of the weekend liquidity as well. Specifically here, I'm just looking on the orders, like the order book that what's stepping in. We've got a decent amount of, plunge protection stepping in. They were trying to hold it yesterday. They've pulled it as of earlier this morning. Nothing major as far as those order blocks right now. There's some potential, some bottoming stuff. So if we do see some very low time frame regains of 96K, we could be seeing a push back up to retest some high structure, but no major reversal back up yet is detected. Specifically, just looking at some of the metrics, cumulative volume delta, I'm just going through some more advanced things. Open interest is still increasing. So there's still the option of us breaking back down if we have failures to hold local lows. We want to see that again. Any low time frame gain of 96K could be the move back up to test stuff, but until then, you've still got technical priority down with the potential of making a higher low off of 95 too. So with that being said, looking at the charts itself on TradingView. So first off, just to share some metrics here, we've got a couple really nice advanced indicators. We've got some good reactive reentry shorts from this high move, basically from that 4-hour candle close above us. So that's all nice and dandy. Nice attractive push to the downside. Retail stablecoin demand is getting back quite high. I've got this little chart here inverted. All it's saying really is that people are exiting the market. So very often when this thing starts to bottom, when there's a very high retail stablecoin demand, it means that retail's exiting the market aggressively, which usually mark bottoms. In general, the flow is still to the downside. We're still losing levels and going lower. This 95.1 where we've effectively tapped, this is a weekly swing level. We can easily come back down towards the early open where there's a lot of demand. There's 4-hour, 1-hour daily demand and support down here, down towards 91K. We just don't want to clear those lows, as doing so likely ends up being the last capitulation wick, which could easily take us down towards 86K back into this zone. So for the time being, it still looks fine and dandy. Looking at some of the localized structure, very, very clear failures. I talked about this yesterday with, I don't think the weekly open holds just because it was already fully tested on the way, or excuse me, I didn't think the December would hold if we broke through it, which it didn't. If we lost the weekly, which we did, we closed underneath it and bearishly back tested it for an awesome refill to continue the downside move. That's still the direction and priority. We're getting close to some higher time frame levels. We're testing some things really aggressively, but we want to see some upside traction, and there's a lot of stuff to retest above us. So this means that even if we start gaining stuff back, we're likely to see some underside resistance from previous levels we gained. Personally, now that we've had this kind of big Bart Simpson move back to the downside, I would love to see us to grind back down and do one last little pop of the lows. But for the time being, you've got downside priority. You're losing stuff. The local regain would be December to the daily open. Any regain of the daily would likely mean a move back up to retest stuff. If we see regains of the weekly, cool, we can see a move back to the upside. But the higher time frame is we've really just kind of blown all of the longs out of the water. If I look at like the liquidations chart here, just to show the significance of it, all these high leverage liquidity points are getting tagged. We still have a decent amount of liquidity below us, and all the way down towards 86 is where we have this big chunk of low leverage 10x and 20x liquidity positions. So that's definitely still on the table if we have a loss of this low. If that's about the only way I see us breaking to the downside is any clear of this low. I say we go mid 80s, big nasty wick, and then we get a really big buy up. For the time being, though, it looks fine. Downside priority, that's still the plan. We've got FOMC minutes coming out tonight, so about 7 p.m. UTC. FOMC minutes are going to give us a little bit of a kind of indication of what the next rate cuts are expected to be. So yeah, that's about it. Watch for any localized regains, even on lower time frames here. There's not a whole lot to say. Even a gain of 96k isn't that big a deal. Realistically, you're creating resistance and support on the way down. You need to get back above some of these levels and start retesting stuff before we change priority from down to up. So that's that. Take it easy and catch you tomorrow.